Erev Shabbos, chavrei v'yedidim. Rabbi Engel is here with Rabbi Blumenfeld. I thank Rabbi Portnoy for all the avodah that he puts in. And my friend Rabbi Steinfeld, chavrei v'yedidim, here Erev Shabbos Kodesh. Everyone should watch over the Am Yisrael. Everyone should come safely. Everyone should drive safely. Everyone that's sick should have a ganze refuah. Oh, the Rav should be gesund and stark and have koyach and all the avodas HaKodesh.
Amen.
Lernen doch der Parsha, Boy el Paroi ki aniach badati es liboi, u'man tesaper bo'oznei bincho ben bincho es asher salalti b'Mitzrayim. So here is one of the places we know the whole Yitzias Mitzrayim, the whole story of Yitzias Mitzrayim is all u'man tesaper bo'oznei bincho ben bincho. It's all to tell over for our children, our Einigloch. It's all to give over. Oh, Rabbi Beda, great to see you. Rabbi Garfinkel, I get tomorrow. Do me a favor, Rabbi Garfinkel. Right before the end, a few minutes, tell me. Great to see you. So tonight, a person wants to tell over a story. It would seem that on a chutz from the regular Mount Saper Lel Pesach, there's something unique to tell your children. I made a chizuk, I made a joke out of the Mitzrayim. What's the message? And it applies to all of us. There must be some important lesson in our lives. The Rambam says that it might be one of us, very simple Rambam, but a forgotten Rambam. Someone told me that Rabbi Leib Steinman Zechon Levrocha used to say, this Yisoid is something missing today. The Rambam says, Ki loy machshavoisai machshavoisechem, v'loy darchechem drochei no'um Hashem. We have no way of understanding Darkei Hashem Yisborach. Many of us have a picture, from when we're young, a picture of Dan Hogas of Hashem Yisborach. We know the Eibishter Tut Chesed, No'ilum Chesed Yiboneh. And everything that's happening, we try to put into our picture. The picture of the way we see, the way we understand things. Zok the Rambam, understanding, loy machshavoisai machshavoisechem, v'loy darchechem drochei no'um Hashem. There's no way of understanding Darkei Hashem Yisborach. The pasuk says, there's a pasuk in Mishlei, Rav mechollel kol, the schir oivrim, the Eibishter does everything, u'schir oivrim, the Eibishter uses people. In order for the Eibishter, for the Anhogas HaBoirei, in order for the Anhogas HaBoirei to be Miskad. And he brings a marshal, he says, we know the story of Mechiras Yosef, happened b'shvil Shnei Sloim, because of a story of a new Bekesher. K'soinis Pasuk. Zok Reb Shanshval Hirsch. This story that happened was a story of a historic story. The Eibishter told Avram, there's a story that's going to happen. Klal Yisrael has to go into Golus. Now the Eibishter is leading Klal Yisrael. Klal Yisrael should go into Golus. And the Eibishter is being Megalgal Dvorim. Things are happening. If you follow, say, the Bereshis, hundreds and hundreds of years of the world. There's a story of Avimelech, a story of Lot, all these stories, millions and millions of people. All these stories was all told us of Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and Golus. Some Sofer writes, if someone was following, let's say there was a newspaper reporter, Mistama in the times of Mitzrayim, Mistama they had reporters, Mistama there were reporters following Mitzrayim. Mistama Mitzrayim themselves had people writing. So someone was following Mitzrayim, from the beginning of Mitzrayim, Mitzrayim turns into a superpower, a world power, the only world power. And the stories are happening, how Mitzrayim gets richer and richer. And all of a sudden there's a young king, and they write about this young king, the brilliant king, and all of a sudden Pari becomes even stronger. And all the money in the world, Reb Yidel, great to see you, Reb Yidel, shkoyach for coming. All the money in the world, all belongs to Pari. And Pari becomes, he goes to the Nile, he goes to the river, and the river all of a sudden, a halzach, he's the only person in the world. And if someone's following, it's interesting, some Sefer writes, the Lashon, the Welt says, success. Hatzlacha. Hatzlacha is the greatest thing. And someone's following Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim's a superpower. At one moment, all of a sudden, B'shas, B'makas B'chayris, B'shas Kriyas Yamsef, all of a sudden there was this galus. All of a sudden, they saw the whole picture of the world, the whole picture of hundreds of years of history. We had no understanding of these hundreds of years of history. If someone, World War II, the greatest tragedy that Klal Yisrael ever had, Chazal teach us one day the Rishonim Arurim are going to come. The first Brisker Rav in Chumash talks about this, how the Rishonim are going to come, and they're going to say, Torah in America, it's all our schos. If we wouldn't have, many Gedolim have said that in Europe the Torah, the Chassidus wasn't on the way up. Whatever level it was on, it wasn't on the way up. And only because Klal Yisrael comes to America, now Torah is flourishing, Torah Chassidus is growing. So La'asad Lavoi, the first Brisker Rav says the Goyim are going to come, they're going to say it's all us. The Goyim are going to come, the American government's going to come and say, hakollel, helping Yidden. The whole reason why we gave out all these stimulus packages was to help B'nai Torah. In fact, the Brisker Rav, what they're going to make a chesed, the Goyim are going to come in front of the Eibishter, you don't lie. Zok the Brisker Rav, no, it's the truth. So the outlook of the world, Zok the Pasuk, L'man tesaper ba'oznei bincha, eis asher salalti b'Mitzrayim. If each one of us live our lives with a different picture, Chazal say, the Medrash says that Yaakov Avinu was oisik, Yaakov Avinu was crying, he was oisik, he lost Yosef. Reuven was doing tshuva. Yosef was crying, he was sold to Mitzrayim. And Yehuda gets married, up the Medrash, Yehuda was oisik in Melech HaMashiach. The same, that's where the parasha comes. Zokta Medrash, each one of them, the Ovis, Avraham, Yaakov, Yosef, they were all oisik in doing tshuva, and the Eibishter was Megala, that Yehuda is building Mashiach. Each one of us is part of history. Each one of us living our life in Erlich Hayid. Very, very soon, Be'ezer Hashem, our life's a greater picture. Eis asher salalti b'Mitzrayim, I used kol poel Hashem u'manei v'gam rosh l'yoyim rov. So a person goes into Shabbos with the realization that my life is a much greater picture. I am part of a historic picture. My day-to-day life, what I'm doing this Shabbos, is part of the great picture of Am Yisrael. Each one of us has our tikkun. Just to be Messiah, I want to share a feeling I had this week, and for those that are part of the Lotzka community, the Lotzka Shul, and the Lotzka Moiset. I went this week, I'll tell you, I'll share a feeling I had this week, with one of Shanshval Hirsch. Rav Shanshval Hirsch says it might be from the nicest of Shanshval Hirsches. Shanshval says like this, he says a Yid comes with his Korban Pesach, he brings his Korban Pesach to the Beis HaMikdash. His Groisa Oisha drives up, and he has this huge Korban, he has this huge animal with his pickup truck, he comes with his big animal. The Kohen tells him, how many people are in your family? He says, I have me, my wife, and 2 children. The Kohen says, my dear friend, we can't shech this Korban. This Korban has enough food for 20 people. So they go, and they have to go look around Eretz Yisrael, look around Yerushalayim, to find people to join the Korban. If the Eibishter im Yimat Habayis, a person's house is too small for the bracha that Hashem gave him, the lokach hu shcheinav. He has to go and look, how can I be mahan on another person? This is the attitude of tzedakah and chesed v'klal Yisrael. Not that the poor person goes to look for the oisha. The oisha, the one who has bracha, the one who has a smile, the one who has a positive word to say is looking. How can I share my bracha with another person? That's the cement of Klal Yisrael. I went this week to be Menachem Ovel, my dear friend and tzaddik, and Erlich Hayid, Rabbi Yitzchak Gross. And the way they were describing the Lotzka Beis Medrash, the Mordechai Schwartz says every Yid, every person from Lotzka walks in, you could see right away that he's part of something different. With the attitude, what could I do? What can I help? And this is something the Rav Shlita is instilling in the walls of this Beis Medrash, the Amud HaChesed. And each one of us, with Danken the Rav Shlita, he should have koyach in all the chesed that he does. But the Rav is able to do the chesed because the Rav has Yidden that are part of it. I find a lot of times I go to Amunas Yisrael, I go to Daven Amunas Yisrael by the Mashkiach, probably the most fire-dik davening. Some people come and they join the davening. Some people just sit in the back and they just listen to other people davening. Then they go home and say it was a geschmack of davening. A person is zoiche to be part of this Gehillah. When I walked into the Menachem Ovel, the way they were talking about this Beis Medrash, the Rav Shlita, the Chesed, thinking about other people. The Satmar Rav says, "Vos meint zu sein a Chosed?" The Satmar Rav says 2 things. One is to be Mesirat Moisen Nefesh for every halacha and Shulchan Aruch, and one is to be Moisen Nefesh to do Chesed for another Yid. So every Yid that's part of this shul is part of a mokum that has room and has something to share for another Yid. The Eibusher should help the Rav Shlita. He should be Zoicha. The Satmar Rav said there's 3 amudim: Torah, Avodah, V'Gemilas Chasadim. Torah we don't have like Amal. Avodah we don't have. The only one we have is the Amud Gemilas Chasadim. The Rav should have koyach to continue. And each one of us that are Zoicha to be part of this Kehillah thinks to ourselves, what can I do to be mative to another person? Every Yid that walks into the shul, a person goes over to the Rav, is anyone that needs some help? Maybe I could be part of the Rav's Avodas HaKodesh in helping Yidden. It was a tremendous feeling of pride to be part of such a Mokum Kodesh. The Rav should be Zoiche. Tziv Shmeiz Hashem, Mashiach is going to be built in the schus of the Amud HaChesed. We should be Zoiche. The cement of Am Yisrael is, what do I have? What can I share with another Yid? The Eibusher should help. We should realize our life is part of a much greater picture of the Am Yisrael. We should be Zoichet a Shabbos of Aliyah, a Shabbos of Simcha, a Shabbos of coming closer to the Eibusher. We should be Zoichet of Vitali Beinu Lov the Chavrei.